All right, today we're going to dive into the world's great temperate grasslands. We're talking about these huge, windswept seas of grass that have shaped wildlife and, honestly, human history in some really profound ways. So let's get right into it.
Okay, so let me just start with a question for you. You've heard of the American prairies, right? And the Eurasian steppes, the South American pampas. They all probably conjure up similar images of these massive, wide open spaces. But what's the common thread here? What really ties all of these places together? Well, that's what we're here to figure out.
And to answer that, we've got to pull back and look at the big picture first. What even is a temperate grassland?
At its heart, the definition's actually pretty simple. A temperate grassland is a place where, you guessed it, the main vegetation is grass. You're not going to find many trees or big shrubs, and the key word here is temperate. It means they're found in those just right zones of the world. Not too close to the equator and not too near the poles.
And man, they are truly all over the globe. You've got the prairies in North America, the steppes stretching across Eurasia, the veld in South Africa, the downs in Australia. But for this explainer, we're going to zero in on this spot right here, the pampas of South America.
Now, this is a really important distinction to make. See, these aren't like the tropical grasslands, think the African savanna, which are pretty much hot all year. No, temperate grasslands have real, distinct seasons, hot summers and properly cold winters. And that climate, it dictates absolutely everything.
So even though they have all these different local names, prairies, pampas, steppes, the basic ecosystem is the same. They're all part of this one big global family, shaped by those dramatic swings between hot and cold. Okay, so now that we've got the global context down, let's zoom way in. We're heading down to South America to really get to know one of these grasslands up close and personal, the legendary pampas of Argentina. And here we are, Argentina. This place is massive. It's the 8th largest country in the world, stretching almost 3,700 kilometers from top to bottom. It's a country with incredible variety, from the towering Andes Mountains out west to the frosty plains of Patagonia way down south. But right there, smack dab in the heart of the country, lies one of its 4 main regions, the Pampas. These are the huge, incredibly fertile plains that have really come to define so much of Argentina's identity. So what makes this region so special? I mean, to really get the Pampas, you have to start with the 2 things that define it: its climate and its soil. The climate here is what's called continental. That just means you get hot summers, often with some pretty intense thunderstorms, and cool, crisp winters. Rainfall is on the low side, just enough for grass to thrive, but not really enough for forests to take hold. And then you have the pampero. It's this cool, strong wind that just constantly sweeps across the plains. It's a real presence out there. This whole cycle of seasons drives the life of the grass. In the spring, you see these fresh green shoots pop up. By summer, it's a thick, lush carpet of green. Then autumn comes and it all fades to a kind of yellow-brown. And in winter, the shoots die off. But, and this is the amazing part, the roots underground are still alive, just waiting to start that whole cycle all over again. It's just an incredible show of resilience. And the secret to that resilience, it's literally in the dirt. The soil is this deep, black humus. That's the super rich organic stuff you get from thousands of years of grassroots decaying, which makes it unbelievably fertile. It's perfect for growing grasses, like alfalfa, a plant that's packed with nutrients and is basically the perfect food for cattle. And trust me, that detail becomes a really big part of the story later. So in a unique landscape like this, you can bet there's a fascinating group of animals, and every single one is perfectly adapted to live in this wide-open, windy world. Out in this exposed environment, you get this classic predator-prey drama playing out. You've got tough herbivores like the llama, which is a relative of the camel, always keeping an eye out for its number one enemy, the puma. For a lot of the smaller animals, when there's no cover, you've got to adapt. The armadillo is a master of this. It just burrows underground to stay safe. But the animal that you'll see more than anything else on the modern pampas, well, it's actually a newcomer. It's the domestic cow, brought here specifically to get fat on all that rich alfalfa we were just talking about. And the adaptations here are just amazing. Take the maned wolf, for example. It looks like it's walking on stilts, right? Well, it evolved those incredibly long legs for one simple reason, to be able to see over the tall grasses when it's hunting. You'll also find speedy guanacos, foxes, deer, while hawks and falcons patrol the skies. It's all part of this really complex web of life.
Of course, you can't tell the story of the Pampas without talking about the people. Their lives are just completely woven into this land, from the legendary wanderers of the past to the modern-day farmers.
And if you really want to get a sense of how vital this region is, just look at this number. More than 65%. That's nearly two-thirds of Argentina's entire population living right here in the Pampas. This isn't just some empty landscape. It's the absolute heartland of the country.
And when you think of people on the Pampas, there's one figure that just instantly comes to mind: the gaucho. These are the iconic cowboys of South America, complete masters of the horse and powerful symbols of freedom out on the open plains.
This description just nails their whole spirit. For generations, they really were the wanderers of the Pampas region, living this nomadic life that was so deeply tied to the land, the horses, and the cattle. Their whole life was about herding cattle and taming wild horses on these massive farms called ranches, and their look was just as iconic as it was practical. A wide-brimmed sombrero for the brutal sun, a warm poncho for those cold Pampero winds, and loose trousers tucked into their boots. Everything was perfectly designed for a life on horseback. But while that romantic image of the gaucho lives on, the Pampas itself has completely transformed. Today, it's a powerhouse of modern, industrial-scale agriculture. This huge shift to massive farms for crops and cattle hasn't just changed the economy. It has fundamentally altered the ecosystem. And really, it's pushed that traditional gaucho way of life to the very edges. And this all brings us to one last really critical question. The story of the Pampas is a story of constant change, from a wild plain to the home of the gaucho, and now to a center of global agriculture. So as this same pressure for resources changes landscapes all over the world, you have to ask, what does the future hold, not just for the Pampas, but for all of the world's great grasslands?